It's hard to imagine life without water. But in the Middle East, that's an increasingly troubling prospect. In this fragile region, water shortages have been linked to mass migration, drought, food shortages, and political instability. Here in Iran, years of stifling international sanctions have put pressure on an already deteriorating water management system. But as Iranians watch their precious bodies of water disappear and international restrictions ease, there's a new understanding that in order to survive, change needs to happen. Esfahan, the cultural heartbeat of central Iran. I'm here to meet global water expert Dr. Kaveh Madani. He's asked me to meet him along the Zayandarud, the river which gave birth to this ancient city. Hi, Dr. Madani. This is not at all what I was expecting. What happened to the famous life giver, the Zayandarud?
For the past few years, we have been seeing it like this. A few months of a flow every year, and the rest, this is what you got. It's officially a dead river.
These massive cracks that we're seeing in this once flowing 1,000-year-old river, this is a man-made problem?
Unfortunately, yes. I'm not saying that nature had no effect on this. We have exhausted the water upstream, and this is what we're left with.
What is the water upstream being used for?
Mostly agriculture. Nationally, we use more than 90% of the water in the ag sector. That's common in the dry areas of the world where you want to produce food. Wherever you irrigate, you run out of water, and that's a general rule. This is really a symbol of what is happening at a larger scale, at a national scale in this country.
And what is happening right now?
Rivers and lakes are going dry one after another, we're losing wetlands. We are seeing land subsidence, we are seeing desertification, and declining groundwater levels, which is really sad. We have been determined to maximize our water use, to extract water from any source possible, move water from one location to another, and this is what we see as the results. This is what I call water bankruptcy.
می‌خواستیم ازتون بپرسیم زایندرود چه ریختی بود قبلا که پر آب بود؟
خیلی زیبا. من هر وقت می اومدم اینجا می نشستم اینجا برای پرنده ها نون می آوردم می گفتم.
همیشه ما یه چیز رو وقتی از دست میدیم اون وقت ارزشش میدونیم.
با خانواده می‌اومدیم اینجا قایق سواری می‌کردیم.
What a view. I can imagine when this was full of water, people must have just loved it.
Exactly. Water is also linked to so many other things, and unless we understand and appreciate these linkages, this complexity, we cannot solve the problems.
While many Iranians are grieving the loss of the Zayandarud River, there's a greater and more invisible crisis underground. I'm traveling into Iran's farming heartland to meet geoscientist Maryam Deghani. She's investigating Iran's groundwater crisis. Over the past 50 years, Iran has extracted 70% of its groundwater supplies, mainly to support farming. The arid southwest province of Sirjan, which relies heavily on pistachio farming, is now running on empty. What do you have here?
This is the city of Sirjan, and you can see here the areas which shows the subsidence.
So these are the groundwater depletion hotspots, is that correct?
Exactly.
What exactly is subsidence?
وقتی که شما آب رو خارج می‌کنی، در واقع این فضاهای خالی باعث افزایش effective استرس میشه و کامپکت میشه.
Should we be worried right now about the groundwater levels in Sirjan?
Yeah, the aquifers lose their capability to capture the water. So we have runoff, we have flood, and sinkholes can damage the roads, the infrastructures.
So should we go find ourselves some sinkholes?
Yeah, of course.
Does it all collapse all at once, or is it over time?
It collapses in 1 second.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So sinkholes and land subsidence, they're indicators on the ground of a much deeper problem.
Yeah, you can see the farmlands opposite side of the road. They are connected. So when you extract the groundwater from one point, the groundwater level drops.
People are overexploiting the water and not paying attention to the aquifer underneath. In the past decade, 15% of this region's pistachio trees have died, forcing farmers to abandon their lands and homes. At this rate, more than half of Iran's provinces could become uninhabitable within 15 years, displacing millions.
5 years ago, everything here was green.
And it's all dried up in such short time.
Yeah.
Is this region, is it able to support pistachio farms anymore?
I think we can't, because there is no more water to irrigate the farms.
So what happens now? What do you tell the farmer and the family, like these people over there, we should see if they're home. What do you tell them when the water runs out?
It's impossible. We can't do anything for these areas.
What do you think? Is somebody home?
I don't know.
Salam.
It's very terrifying, I think. از اینکه چند سال دیگه همه جا اینجوری بشه.
Until very recently, pistachios were Iran's main export after crude oil, and the province which Sirjan sits in was one of the largest producers in the world, contributing to $1 billion industry. But now farmers that remain are struggling to survive without water. I've left Dr. Deghani to meet a family still trying to eke out a living.
شما چند ساله که تو باغ پسته کار میکنین؟
اصلا خوردی الان سنمه 50 سال کشاورزی کار میکنم.
آب که نیست کارشون چجوری شده؟
جور بچه‌هامون زندگیمون مشکل شده. ما اینجا به چه جور زندگی بکنیم؟ همه عمل کردن رفتن شهر تو شهرها.
40-50 سال قبل شما 3 متر زمین رو میکندین میرفت پایین. آب قابل شرب. الان خیلی خرابه. این منطقه هولوش 200 متر.
The water is completely contaminated because they've been digging so much into the aquifer. They've had salt water leach in from the nearby lake bed. It's not just lack of water, it's salt water entering the fresh water that they use for farming.
بیا این خشکه. و آینده ترا دیگه مسئول پسته روزش را.
خیلی وحشتناکه.
وحشتناک. این پسته ببینید. در اثر کم آبی که سری سوخته. پس چی بردارم ماش زندگی بکنم؟ چون فقط کم آبی.
10 years ago, they had a nice diversity of crops, but as the trade in pistachio started really bringing in money and it was very profitable, everybody went and invested in pistachio farming. And now the future is completely bleak because they've invested in only one crop. خیلی ها میگن آینده ایران خیلی کمتر باید کشاورزی داشته باشه.
من میتونم امید برم چه کاری بکنم؟ چه کاری دست بگیرم؟ نه سواد دارم. همش کارم کشاورزی بوده. بچه‌ها هم همینجور. ما انتظار داریم از دولتمون کمک کشاورز بکنه.
بریم. شما فکر میکنی آینده این زمین چیه؟
اگه آب نباشه هیچ فکری هم هیچ کس نگه. یعنی تا 20 سال آینده هیچ کس اینجا نمیتونه بخوره. این بچه که 2 سال داره 22 سال دیگه آب نداره سورچه بشه.
Iran is clearly facing a huge and unprecedented crisis. And without the government's support, it's hard to see any hope of resolution. I'm in Tehran to meet Mausoumeh Ebtekar, the country's vice president and head of environmental protection.
Would you say that Iran is currently facing a water crisis?
Yes. Iran, like many other countries in the region, is currently facing water scarcity. We need to change the current water management and water consumption patterns in order to be able to deal with this. A lot of pressure on our economy, and there was a lot of pressure on producing more crops. We need to take off the pressure, I think.
Years of heavily subsidized water rates mean people haven't been brought up with a conservation mindset. In a country where half the population is under 35, the government and NGOs are tapping into social media to get the word out. But is it working?
شاید آدم ببینه بگه چه جالب، ولی فقط در حد یه لایک و یه نگاه کردن و یه شیر کردن میگذره.
موقع مصرف آبیش که اون پسته تو ذهنش نیست.
یه اپلیکیشن قطره قطره هست، بحران آبه که توش کمپینیه که عضو میشن توش برای همین حمایت از بحران آب.
Lake Urmia. Once the Middle East's largest saltwater lake, it has now shrunk to 10% its former size. Located in the northwest of the country, it was a popular holiday haven. Today, it has been reduced to a few patches of incredibly salty water.
اولین بار که اومدین دریاچه ارومیه برای عکاسی کی بود؟
3 سال پیش من اومدم شروع کردم. اون دوستایی که همراه من بودن گفتن الان اینجا رو می‌بینی خشکه، قبلا مثلا تا این ارتفاع آب بوده اینجا، خشک شده. بعد گفتم چه اتفاق عجیبی افتاد، یعنی یه فاجعه است دیگه. احساس می‌کنم باید یه جوری نشون بدم این اتفاق رو.
شما فکر می‌کنین عکس‌های شما چجوری این موضوع رو بزرگتر کرده و مهمتر کرده برای بقیه؟
چراغی بود که روشن شد واسه مردم که فهمیدن داره چه اتفاقی میکنه وگرنه دولت میدونست و اینو میگفت سالها که خب آب کم هست صرفه‌جویی بکنیم.
یعنی اگر مردم یه چیزی میشنون تا وقتی که اون عکس یا اون تصویر رو ندیدن انگار باورشون نمیشه.
شما فکر میکنین عکسای شما یه فشار گذاشته رو دولت و مردم که بیدار شن؟
ببین من امیدوارم که دیدن این اتفاق برای همه این نتیجه رو داشته باشه که آب یه چیزیه که بالاخره یه حدی داره. تبعات دریاچه ولی فقط به جغرافی ایران محدود نمیشه. یعنی این سونامی نمکی که ازش صحبت میکنن
اگه خشک بشه کلا دریاچه
همه کشورهای اطرافو مثل عراق، مثل ترکیه اینا رو تحت شعاع قرار میده. این نمک هم همونیه که الان داشتیم صحبت می‌کردیم، پودر است.
This salt right here, which appears so innocent, can absolutely destroy the farming industry around this land. If it gets into the soil, it completely dries it out, and it isn't good for people's health. So you can understand why this lake needs to be full of water so that this salt doesn't start traveling around in the wind.
Solmaz grew up around the lake and knows firsthand the impact of water scarcity. Her family used to run a popular guest house and rent pedal boats. Their lives were closely tied to the lake.
این دریاچه است. الان اینجا رو می‌بینیم که خشک شده.
اولین بار یادتون میاد که حس کردین که یه چیزی خوب نیست؟
اول چیزی bu zamanıdır, bu zamanın payızın axırıydı ki da misafir gəlmirdi, qurt kəmidi qurtuldu. Belə dəkkəsi vardı, körpü vardı. O dəkkə suyun içində idi. Dəkkəzat da qaldılar quruda. Qaldılar dəkkədə qaldı quruda. O dəyra getməkdir ki, gedirik. با ناراحته است دایره.
از کی شما این مسافرخونه رو بستین؟
یعنی یه روز اتفاق نیفتاد، شاید در عرض مثلا 10 سال 5 سال اینجوری این اتفاق افتاد و یه روزی شد دیگه بستن.
شما پیش خودت فکر میکردین این مسافرخونه همیشه تو فامیلت میمونه؟
وقتی یه چیزی رو آدم تا از دست نداده نمیدونه که ارزشش چی بوده.
مثلا ما الان دیگه خیلی برامون آب اثر گذاشته دیگه. مثلا اینکه مثلا غمناک شدیم یعنی طبیعت دریا آدم دلشاد میکرد.
ناراحت نشین، دریاچه برمیگرده
انشالله. من چی ürəyim açıqdır, gələcək dayıram.
Ötürdə nənə.
İnşallah gələcək.
Qutardı. از این بخش شروع کرده بودم عکاسی رو. کاملا انگار اون حالت مردگی و حالت از بین رفتن اینجا از همه بیشتر مشخصه.
همش رو شونه کشاورزاست که ما رو از بحران آب بیاریم بیرون؟
نه، همش روی شونه کشاورزی نیست. الان شهرنشینی ها میتونن در صرفه‌جویی آب. وقتی آب تمام بشه تنها واسه کشاورز هم نمیشه.
Iran has finally acknowledged the scale of the crisis on its hands, and it is beginning to tackle it. But if these hopeful starts don't lead to more action on the ground, and soon, the entire region will face the prospect of even more loss and instability.